we set this up with our guys as a two-game season, two road games. Both happen to be in the state of Oklahoma. First off, in Norman, we just have a lot of respect for their program. They gave us all we could handle here in Lubbock in game one, basically a one-possession game, depending on how the way you look at it. Obviously, everything Coach has done in basketball speaks for itself. He's taken 5 different programs to the NCAA tournament. He's one of the best coaches in college basketball. I know our teams always get better after we play Oklahoma, whether we win or lose, because they expose things about you. Simply stated, he's just a really good coach. So if we could scrimmage them every year, we would do so, because you learn so much about your team. But unfortunately, we have to play them in the Big 12 twice a year. So they've got really good inside and outside players. They've got a lot of returners, guys that made the NCAA tournament last year. So they're a dangerous team. Just a couple weeks ago, they're a top 25 team. This is life in the Big 12. They're a 2-game winning streak, probably from being back in the top 25. So we expect them to play their best game of the year. We know we're going to have to play great to have a chance to win a close Big 12 game.
Coach Beard, we've seen your team score the ball a lot of different ways this year. Flashback to last week, y'all scored it really well from behind the 3. How much discussion do y'all have going in practice, going into Oklahoma about, are we going to shoot a lot from 3? We're going to try to go inside. What's that discussion look like going into Oklahoma?
Yeah, every game you have obviously a defensive game plan, how we're going to guard them. I think most people kind of associate that with scouting and preparation, but equally important and equally time invested is an offensive game plan. In the simplest terms, how can we score enough points to have a chance to beat the opponent? And so with Oklahoma, they have a really good half-court offense. They have great size, interchangeable players. I don't know if you can just come down and check it up every time and score enough points to beat them. I don't think you can. So you got to get some stuff in transition, whether it be your fast break or secondary break. Then you got to get some extra possessions off the backboards by getting rebounds. And then you've got to figure out a way to, attack their different defenses. So with us, the three-point shot is something we talk about often, as well as inside game, transition. But Oklahoma presents a lot of challenges because they're one of the best defensive teams in the league.
Natural highs and lows that'll come with the Big 12. I think you said something about being a prince and being a frog. I forget the exact phrase. Are you guys pretty good about mentally staying even keel regardless of results?
This team is, yeah. It's just led by those guys. It's it's Norris's personality. He's a grown man. Basically, he's a professional already playing college basketball. I think Norris is going to do great at the next level. And think about it, like in the NBA, those guys play 80-something games. How can you get too high or too low? That's where all this starts from. And really in the Big 12, just because everybody's so good, you can't get too high or too low. So this year's team, but there's a maturity about this team, and it's led by those 4 seniors. Matt and Tariq, grad transfers, have been successful individually where they've been. And then certainly Brandon Francis has grown into a more mature person. So, and then, Culver being one of our best players has that demeanor too. I would think that we're kind of a team that stays the course. Yeah, eligible for redshirt. I'm not sure. It would have to. I think it's kind of like a case-by-case situation. So, and then with Kayvon just continuing to practice and sort through this. It hasn't been easy, but just tried to communicate the best we can with him. He's a talented young guy. I think he's got a bright future.
On his part, just because he feels like he's kind of gotten there, and I guess what's the biggest thing that you have to kind of remind him to obviously look towards the future and not obviously just kind of rushing himself?
Yeah, I think you're probably referencing a social media thing, and we just handled that. I mean, there's not a person in this room that doesn't make a mistake. There's not a person in this room that doesn't get emotional from time to time. So I really like Kayvon as a person. And so with his deal, there's always frustrations with injuries. Any player that's played this game, Deshaun a lot of frustrations when he had to miss the Iowa State game and with his injury and coming back. So, but this is the tell of a man, how you can get through times of adversity. And I think the guys in our program that stay the course, the guys at our programs that stay committed, end up being pretty good men on the backside.
Yes, I know he got off the crutches. Seems like he's just on the boot now.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Chris Williams and the doctors. I get this stuff mixed up a lot, but just basically a high ankle sprain, and those things are pretty serious. I want to say West Virginia, the really good guard, lefty Bolden, same thing. He's in a boot. So Malik's putting in a lot of time in the training room. I mean, he's in there 4 or 5 hours a day. As a matter of fact, I think last trip we didn't even travel him so that he could stay in the training room here hour after hour after hour. So I think Malik's getting real close to getting back on the practice floor, and then as soon as he can practice, he'll play in games.
I guess what did you like from the performance of you guys? Not necessarily the bounce back, but just in terms of the way the offense flowed, and it seemed like you guys were really kind of working on the screens and the slips really pretty good there.
Last game?
Yes.
Which one was it?
West Virginia.
Yeah. Just all I could think about is Oklahoma. Yeah, I mean, obviously just like the way we responded. Didn't play our best at Kansas, and they were a big reason why we didn't. And then I think just in one day of practice to come back, backs are against the wall, you feel the pressure responding. I think that's the biggest positive was that we, short-term memory, we didn't look like the same team that we did in Lawrence, Kansas. And then offensively, we had a lot of assists on our baskets, which means we're sharing the ball. We had balance. And then defensively, I think we were locked in. One of the best games we've ever had, not just at Texas Tech, but we being all the teams over the years, Fort Scott, and Seminole, and the Warriors, and McMurray, and Little Rock, and San Angelo. In terms of deflections, maybe the most deflections we ever had in a game.
Coach, this has happened a few times now where you're facing a team that's on a losing streak and their backs are against the wall. Just how do you kind of prepare for that?
Well, it's not easy, but it's life in a Big 12. You're either playing someone that's coming off a win or two, and they're really trying to separate. If you can win 2 or 3 games in a row in this league, it's almost like selection show Sunday. But if you drop a couple, you're just a couple games away from getting back on track. I think our journey last year was a great example of that. We lost a couple games here around Keenan's injury and Justin's concussion, and you guys were looking at me like the world was over. Then a couple weeks later, everybody's in Dallas and Boston buying T-shirts. So you just got to stay the course. And so when you play a team like we're playing now against Oklahoma, you just feel like you're going to get their best shot because they're competitive. There's no quit in a Lon Kruger team ever. This is championship DNA. These are guys that have been to tournament. They still got guys on this team that I want to say played in the Final Four with Buddy Held. So I think what we do is just tell our guys, hey, do you understand you're about to get their best shot? Do you understand you're about to play against a team that has a lot of pride and character, and they're going to play great? I'd much rather play against a team that just won their last couple games. It's not even close as a competitor. This is when you're going to try to get somebody's best shot, and it's just very difficult. It's also very difficult to beat the same team twice in this league. It just hasn't been done a lot, and so this game has a lot of challenges for us.
And then when you're scouting Oklahoma this week, what's maybe something new that you've seen from them since last time you faced them?
I think one thing is just the improvement in players. Guys are playing on a different level. One example of many would be their freshman guard that's from the state of Texas, and he's doing a great job. He has one of the best assist-to-turnover ratios in the Big 12, and he's a freshman. He's a much better player right now than he was last week, 2 weeks ago, or 3 or 4 weeks ago when we played him. This is another sign of great coaching. Players get better at Oklahoma, but also a credit to this young guy. He's one of my favorite young guys in the league.
A guy who's been kind of off injured for them this year, Jamoni McNeese, what kind of difference does he make when he's on or off the court for them?
Yeah, he's one of, if not the best athlete in the Big 12 when he's healthy. He's the guy that Trae Young really trusted the most above the rim, and then he's a real game changer on the defensive end for Oklahoma because he can block shots at a high rate. So he's starting to play more, and I think as their season goes on, they're only going to get better the more healthier he gets because he's one of the best athletes in the Big 12.